image of me. In one glance, you won't see my true identity. And when our eyes meet, judgments are made. Society dictates.
Celebrity Apprentice premiered on NBC tonight with 18 celebrities as opposed to the normal 15 because NBC extended its season 2 more episodes, I think to compete with all the other reality shows that are out there. NBC's not heavy on the reality show listing right now. So they have 2 teams, men, women, and it is right off the bat where Victoria Gotti says, I already know the people I'm going to get out. And we're like, geez, day 1. I watched her video beforehand, and what I saw of her is that she is an incredibly serious woman. She doesn't joke around about much. Doesn't mean she's a bad woman, just means she's incredibly serious all the time. So day 1, task rolls around, and she's on the phone getting car insurance for her son. Day 2, she is an hour late and doesn't show up, says she has an eye cornea problem. And so people are kind of iffy about her. Her team's not exactly loving her all that much. Cheryl Tiegs, on the other hand, was, right there doing everything, but she moves rather slow. She is a quiet person. She's not, do it my way or the highway, which is the opposite of Victoria Gotti. And she just is, more laid back. Well, that didn't work out so well. The men went and followed Pauly Sr. He said, I can bring in $500,000. And they said, you go for that. And we won't even bother to raise money. We'll have a circus type atmosphere outside. We'll bring people in, but we're counting on your big donation. So the guys worked together really well. There were some minor things. Arsenio Hall didn't really appreciate the way Pauly talked to Ivanka Trump. And George Takei and Pauly did not hit it off from the beginning, and you could see George kind of raising his eyebrows a couple times during the show. So we get to halfway through it, and then they have Rachel Ray come on, and Rachel does a judging of the sandwiches. Now, I thought this was kind of funny because Rachel says to the guys, I love the meat to bread to cheese ratio on your sandwich. To me, that says boring, standard, typical sandwich. And then to the women, she says, I like the texture of your bread. And I'm thinking, really? That's all you can say about these 2 sandwiches? You're a food person, for crying out loud. In the end, she chooses the guy's sandwich, and they get $35,000 extra for their charity. Now you get to the best part of every apprentice show, and that's the boardroom. I mean, the rest of the stuff, it's okay. You get to the boardroom, and that's the good stuff. So in the boardroom, Patricia, who is project manager for the women's team, has done a really good job. I actually thought they were ahead because the apprentice kept editing it here, saying, Clay Aiken saying, I don't see the big bucks yet. I don't see the big donations coming in. So I really kind of thought that the women had this thing. And so Patricia is talking. She's like, everybody did a good job. And then Donald puts her on the spot and says, but who would you get rid of? And she mentions Cheryl Tiegs and Victoria Gotti. But she's really not happy with Cheryl Tiegs. And you can tell that, for the most part, she's the one. Other members of her team keep bringing up Victoria Gotti. On the guy's side, he asked Pauly Sr., who would you get rid of? And Pauly goes and commits politically correctness suicide on national TV. And if it weren't for Adam Carolla, I think I would have just spit myself. Because Adam has the chutzpah to say what I was thinking the entire time. So Pauly says, I think George Takei and Arsenio. And I'm like, oh my God, Pauly. So the muscle-bound dude, biker dude, picks the black guy and the Japanese-American gay guy. And I quote gay guy because I think it's, when people say that, it's a stereotypical thing, and that's why I do that. So anyhow, I'm like, oh, Pauly, you just set back race relations like 40 years. Thanks a lot, dude. Anyhow, Adam has the chutzpah has pointed out that it looks really, really bad. And then Pauly's kind of sitting there going, oh, shoot. George Takei. In my opinion, anybody who survives a concentration camp and then goes on to become an international star is a strong person. I'm sorry, you don't just, muddle through and then become a star afterwards without having some kind of massive inner strength. So, meek. He called him meek. There's a difference between meek and a gentleman. George is a gentleman. Arsenio's a gentleman. You don't have to be rough and tumble in order to be strong. You can be a polite gentleman and still be strong. Now, I'm not against Polly here. I'm just like, major move, bad move there, Polly. Major bad move. Just, in the world of PR and stuff like that. It'll be interesting to see how well Polly does when he's not the leader of a task, how well he can take orders from somebody else, because Polly's used to being in charge everywhere else. So that's what I really want to see. In the end, Polly came through and had one contributor who gave over $300,000, and the guys cleaned the women's clocks with their amount between the $35,000 that they got from the sandwich contest and the $300,000 donation. Their sandwich making, was just, icing, and they beat the women. So we get to the end. The guys get to watch the women's, boardroom stuff, and then she takes Cheryl Teagues and Victoria Gotti back to the boardroom, and Cheryl says, you know what, this is not my thing, because Cheryl doesn't need to be aggressive in her life. She doesn't want to be aggressive. She's smart. She knows how to raise money. She knows how to run a business, but she doesn't have to pounce all over people and be openly aggressive in order to do it, and that's just not her style. She's a far more quiet person, and she just honestly said in the boardroom, this I don't think this is a good fit for me, and so she left the show. And I think that if you want to, I will flash up Cheryl's charity, because in the end, Celebrity Apprentice is all about raising money for the charities. Next week, I think we're going to see some massive fireworks between Lisa Lampanelli and Victoria Gotti. Lisa is not keeping quiet on Twitter about her dislike of Victoria Gotti and other people on the show. So the women's team is going to be, I think this is going to be just all out war. The guys team seems a lot more, fun. I want to be on the guys team, but oh well. Okay, so real quick, that was my short, really bad recap of Celebrity Apprentice.
The world has an image of me. In one glance, you won't see my true identity. And when our eyes meet, judgments are made. Society dictates how